thank you so much for your interest in doing research in Germany. Of course, funding is a key issue in planning a research stay abroad, but I will start before that with the first steps. Before you can look into scholarship programs or funding, you first have to decide where to do your research, whether it is a PhD or a postdoc or a senior position. You have to find your PhD position first and also get admitted to this. I have listed some of the most some of the search engines that will help you find a position. Most recommendable one is for all career stages GERIT, the German research institutions. You will find all research groups and institutions that might deal with your particular research subject in this search engine provided by the German Research Foundation. If you're looking for a PhD, you will find PhD Germany and the international programs in Germany administrated also by the DAD useful. There you will find already programs or openings for PhD position. Also, Eurexis is on the EU level interesting for you. You can find their EU-funded projects in your research field. For the scholarships, there are two links I would guide you to. I believe you know the funding guide of the, you have come across the funding guide of DAD already. It doesn't list only scholarships at DAD, also at other institutions, and our own website, Research in Germany, where we list a broad overview, not only from the big funding organizations, also from other organizations, and this is updated regularly. And we also have a brochure where we list funding programs and scholarships. So one thing I forgot to say, of course, speak to your Indian supervisor, your professor in India. He might also have already connections with professors in Germany and can guide you to institutes or connect you to people from your research area. That's a very important thing. Professors are very well connected. Maybe Madhu can tell us later more about that, but I believe this is a good first step to find the research position and then look into funding programs. There is a specialty when speaking of PhD programs in Germany. We have two ways in pursuing a PhD, the individual PhD and the structured one. Shortly said, with the individual one, you have your search topic already set, you know what you want to do, and then you write a proposal and try to convince a German professor to take you into his institute, into his group, offer you a PhD position. So you organize yourself independently during this time. Different with the structured PhD. It's guided. You are joining a set research group, and you have a group of supervisors and mandatory fixed courses which you have to attend, and of course a defined application process. You can read more of this in our brochure, the doctorate in Germany, which is also listed in our publications area. Another important information, in Germany, you can also carry out your research, do a PhD or a postdoc, not only at universities, we have over 400 universities in Germany, but also at non-university research institutes and with companies. Important information, the degree that you will be awarded later will be from a university. The non-university research institutes and the companies that offer PhD positions cooperate with one university closely, and this is the university the one that will grant you the degree. So this is also important to know. I'm not sure if this is common knowledge everywhere in the world. So just at short glance, the big four players of the non-university research institutes are Max Planck, Helmholtz, Fraunhofer Society, Leibniz. Fraunhofer Society is one of our partners in the Research in Germany project. Max Planck shortly is focusing on basic research. Helmholtz is responsible for the big infrastructures, big machines, big lasers. They have a icebreaker ship called Polarstern, which is doing research at the North Pole. Fraunhofer Leibniz is Germany's home of applied science, and the Leibniz Association has also a broad range of research areas. Its focus, but it's putting emphasis on science and society, and humanities. When speaking of industry, certain sectors are the main innovation drivers in Germany. Most people think the automotive engineering sector is the biggest driver of innovation. No, it's pharmaceuticals. I believe you have already come across some companies, and most expenditures are in R&D come from industry and from companies. 69% of all expenditures in research and development in Germany comes from industry. Here are some of the biggest players, these players, 11 German corporations, are within the top 20 European innovators. Also important to know before you start planning is, I don't know if it's known to everybody, there are no tuition fees on the research level for PhDs or PhD positions or postdocs. The living costs are also important. You have to know to calculate your stay and everything. It's an average number for Germany, which might differ at bigger cities. For example, Munich is different from Osnabrück, but it's calculated at the moment with around 980 euros, 18 euros per, sorry. Of course, you can finance your PhD through your own funds or your parents. The host university might also have funds your supervisor of your host institution while discussing the position with him. Also, this will be a topic. If he has funds he will immediately tell you, oh, I have funds for this position or I don't. Then there is individual funding research as a research associate within a research associate contract where you would work half of your time for the university based on the contract for public workers in Germany, and the other half of your day you will be free to carry out your research, or you receive a scholarship which enables you to use all your time for doing working on your research project. Sorry if I'm a bit quick, as the time is short. I would just go through a few slides and introduce you shortly to the biggest players, the big funding organizations in Germany. With you already, I guess, have heard of. I mentioned the German Research Foundation, DFG, which has over 30,000 funded projects where you can join and also apply for funding. We will see that later. They work with a budget of 3.3 billion euros. Next one is the organization Apurv and I happy to work for. It's the DAD, and we provide also scholarships and grants for all disciplines at all stages, and have 69 offices like DFG. I forgot to mention, we have 69 offices worldwide where you can get information on the application process and everything connected. One name you should have heard also, it will be important maybe at a later stage. Alexander von Humboldt Foundation scholarships start at postdoc level. Maybe we have some postdocs already joining us today. And they have a big alumni network across the world, which also supports people who want to come to Germany and are looking into scholarships. I would now have a look with you into some of the programs. I will show some tables, but not go too deep into them, because all these tables, all these programs are listed in our brochure and on our website. I will share the link after my presentation. You can download the brochure and read this afterwards. And with every table, you get a link where you can find the application forms and so on. Let's start with the DAD doctoral program. There's one special thing about this program that you have to know. Once you receive it, you're able to take this scholarship to any institution, to a university of your choice, non-university research institute, not industry. Industry works differently. These positions are mostly already based on a work contract and connected to the company, but you're free to take this scholarship. It's not connected to any university or non-university research institute, and I would recommend you to apply additionally because all programs, scholarship schemes are very competitive, not to miss to apply for this scholarship. It comes with additional allowances, rent subsidy, a conference subsidy, travel subsidy, and so on. My colleagues in India also advise on our scholarship and are happy to help you with the application process. Applications are done mostly through, with all organizations, through an online portal, which sometimes is a little tricky, but we are there to help you with that. We also have 1 year and short-term grants at DAD. So if you're doing your PhD in India and you want to visit one certain archive or one lab and carry out part of your research in Germany, or have a look with the short-term grants into the system and already connect probably for a postdoc to a certain institute, it would be smart to think of a short-term stay in Germany and apply for these possibilities at DAD. But again, you have to have first your position and then apply for the scholarships, because one mandatory document which you have to upload is the invitation letter or admission letter from the host institution. We have already seen that the German Research Foundation is one of the 3 big funding organizations. They have a lot of research training groups, which you can join or apply for a position and apply additionally for funding. So there is plenty of funding if you're not decided. There are people that say, I only want to go to Technical University of Munich or something. But if you're still open, there is plenty of possibilities to find scholarships, because here, this scholarship can only be received for joining a DFG research training group. This is different from the DAD scholarship, which you can take to any institution. Same thing, all the 3 big players, that's why 4 big players, sorry, in non-university research have also their own grants. At the Helmholtz research schools and graduate schools, there are work contracts or scholarships for the structural PhD. You should look into that too. If you're still open for all options, maybe you can find there an idea what path to take. The same thing with Fraunhofer Society. For their positions, they also have a number of scholarships or funded position through work contract. Same with Max Planck Institutes. They offer individual doctoral projects as well as structured doctoral projects. These are carried out by the International Max Planck Research Schools, shortened by IMPRS. You will always see this IMPRS and know this is a Max Planck research school. At Leibniz, you can carry out individual doctorates and also apply for funding. The graduate schools offer also structured funding for structured PhD. And this is one scholarship. This is on European level. I wanted to show you the Marie Skłodowska-Curie doctoral network. This is also available for non-EU citizens. So you can apply from all over the world to this grant, also on postdoc level. They have also this doctorate scholarships, but also they have scholarship for postdocs and senior researchers. For postdoc, just a short overview. As far as I know, we have more PhD candidates or people interested in PhD today here. Most important program on postdoc level is the German Research Foundation's program Eminöter, Fraunhofer Attract at Fraunhofer Society, Max Planck and Helmholtz and Leibniz. All of the non-university research institutes also have grants on postdoc level. And the European grants are the ERC starting grants. All these programs can be found in our brochure and on our website. This is the brochure, Funding Your Research in Germany. I'm not sure if the link is clickable, that you can click on it. So I will share it in a second in the chat. And you can find all other publication brochures, also subject-focused brochures on our website if you go to the tab Publications. With this, I will want to end my presentation, and I hope it was not too long, and I'm happy to answer your questions later on. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm trying to stop sharing. Did it work?
Right, thank you so much. That's wonderful. Thank you, Gabi. It was perfect. I think a very good overview exactly, which actually covers most of the frequently asked questions that students pose us. So I hope that this would have clarified a lot of doubts. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We straight away then move on now to the second presentation, and I will just give the presenter privileges to you, Dr. Reddy. You should be able to share your screen with all of us now, and maybe also throw a little bit of light on the different funding schemes that the Indian side also has, because we have at times visitors also here also in this session from Germany, or students who are in Germany who have acquaintances, German acquaintances, for whom also coming to India and availing of different possibilities might be very interesting. So over to you now, Dr. Reddy.
Good morning, wherever you are. At the outset, I would like to thank the German Academic Exchange Service, DAD India Director Dr. Apur, and Dr. Katya Lash and other colleagues in DAD in Delhi office, and also the DAD office here in Germany, for giving me this opportunity to share some of the funding opportunities to finance your research stay abroad. So what I will speak is from a perspective of Indian government's funding schemes. I would like to give a couple of schemes which are available for funding. And what I will do now is I will also tell you something about what, as a science and technology counselor here, what is my profile. So, and also give you the kind of science, technology, innovation cooperation between Germany and India. So we have different modes of cooperation. The modes of cooperation include starting with mobility of scientists, researchers, and academicians and students. And also we have joint research projects, which are both in basic science, industrial science, and applied sciences. And we also have joint centers, and we also provide under the scheme a fellowship program for scientists and students. And we also have partner group programs and workshops and so on and so forth. So what are the identified priority areas for cooperation? The priority areas of cooperation between India and Germany start from biotechnology to medical and health research to disaster and civil security research and advanced materials, digitalization. You name the scientific field in which you are thinking about. There is a cooperation which is existing between India and Germany, and we are interested in such areas. And the bilateral agencies in India which have cooperation with the German agencies are Department of Science and Technology, Department of Biotechnology, Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, Indian Council for Medical Research, and Indian Council for Agriculture Research, and Ministry of Earth Sciences, and so on and so forth. Who are the counterparts in Germany? The counterparts in Germany are DAAD, BMBF, which is the Federal Ministry for Education and Research, and DFG, which German Research Foundation, Alexander von Humboldt, Max Planck Gesellschaft, Helmholtz, Leibniz, Fraunhofer, and Leibniz, and other associations. And India is also part of a couple of mega science projects like Facility for Antiproton and Ion Research in Darmstadt, where India has signed an agreement in 2010 and is one of the shareholders in this big mega project. Also at DESI in Hamburg, India, this is one of the mega science projects India is involved in. And so India also has with Germany one of the bilateral centers, one of the 3 bilateral centers which India has apart from US and France is IGSTC, which is Indo-German Science and Technology Center, which is co-funded by both the Department of Science and Technology in India and BMBF in Germany. And this is an initiative to foster innovation through R&D networking. And we also have at IIT Chennai, IIT Madras, Indo-German Center for Sustainability, which is established with RWTH Aachen. And research enrichment and exchange programs, as I said, we have Max Planck Partner Group program, we have DAD, Y schemes, DBT, DFG co-funding programs, and particularly I will speak about that from the Indian side, GIAN, Vajra, and Spark, but in the next 2-3 slides. And in addition to that, every year, young Indian researchers come to Germany, what is called as Lindau Nobel Laureates meeting, wherein the young Indian researchers will get an opportunity to talk to Nobel laureates under different themes in different areas in different years. And so far, almost like 450 participants, young researchers from India have visited Germany under this scheme. And for today's discussion, we also can mention about Indo-German partnership in higher education, wherein it is an agreement between BMBF from Germany and Ministry of Education in India, which is being implemented by DAAD and from German side, and UGC from Indian side. And in this IGP, Indo-German partnership, the funding has been extended up to 2024. Presently, there are 9 projects which have been funded under this particular prestigious Indo-German partnership program. Having given this brief background about Indo-German science and technology cooperation, what I would now shift gears is about Indian students in Germany. If you see this particular slides, there has been a tremendous increase in the number of Indian students who visit India to pursue their higher education in bachelor's, master's, PhD, and so forth. And this is a slide where it's not updated with the figures from last year, but unofficially we know that there are now 29,000 Indian students approximately in Germany, and Indian students constitute second largest student community, international student community in Germany. And it is going tremendous at a very high level, tremendously. In the last year, there has been an increase of 20% in the international students in Germany from the Indian side. Particular scheme which is important for today's discussion is GIAN scheme, which is a global initiative of academic networks. Now I'm talking about funding schemes where the foreign faculty and students can come to India. This particular scheme is for internationally and nationally known experts from abroad who can come to India and for guest lectures in reputed institutions in India. Basically, the idea is to increase the footfall of reputed international faculty in the Indian academic institutes. And the idea is to provide opportunity to Indian faculty as well as Indian students to learn and share the knowledge and teaching skills in cutting edge areas. Under this scheme, the international faculty will be able to spend 1 to 2 weeks in India. And this is where they can have a networking, they can give some lectures, they can give some classes, they can organize, attend some workshops, and now come up with, different programs, bigger projects, wherein they can write bigger proposals with the host institute. So this is one. And the second scheme which I will talk about is the Vajra scheme, which is a scheme by the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. Vajra stands for Visiting Advanced Joint Research Program. This is again exclusively for overseas scientists, including NRI, non-resident Indians, and also foreign scientists to work as adjunct and visiting faculty in an Indian research institution or an academic institution. The idea is again to have accomplished overseas scientists to take up challenging problems in the Indian setting, and then this will actually, the scheme is to recognize the value of collaborative research as a crucial element for information sharing. Under this Vajra scheme, so the faculty, the foreign faculty are supposed to work for minimum of 1 month to a maximum of 3 months. And the faculty, the Vajra faculty, the foreign faculty will be paid a lump sum of US dollars 15,000 in the first month and US dollars 10,000 per month in the next 2 months. And the idea is that this scheme is open for scientists or faculty or R&D professional, including NRIs and PIOs. Basically, they have to be active researchers working with overseas academic or research or industrial organization. And these two schemes, Vajra and GIAN scheme. GIAN scheme is for 1 to 2 weeks. Vajra is for 1 to 3 months. But what happened is these two schemes are for faculty from abroad to come to India. But there was a need which was felt that there is no exchange of students. The Indian students are, under these two schemes, cannot go to a foreign institute or a foreign laboratory to spend their time or to do some experiments. To provide such opportunities, a third scheme has been introduced, which is called as Spark, which is a scheme for promotion of academic and research cooperation. Under this scheme, what happens is this is intended to facilitate academic and research collaborations between Indian institutions and best institutions in the world. There are a set of 28 selected nations which have been selected under this scheme, and Germany is among those 28 nations, wherein the proposal can be made and the academic institution in both the countries can collaborate. And in this scheme, there is a provision for the mobility of faculty or the PI from India to Germany and Germany to India, as well as it will provide funds for the students to spend some time in a foreign laboratory to do their experiments and to have exposure. And this scheme is for 2 to 8 months. So now I talked about GIAN scheme, which is for 2 weeks, and I talked about Vajra scheme, which is for 1 to 3 months, and I have talked a third scheme, which is Spark scheme, for 2 to 8 months. And here in this scheme, students also get an opportunity to go to a foreign laboratory and for a PA's lab in a foreign country. And Germany is one among them, and there are a set of criteria. And I have given at the end, and I will also provide later on the websites which gives details about this all the three schemes. And the fourth scheme is a Duo India Fellowship Program, which was supposed to start last year. This SM Duo, Asia European countries exchange program, wherein the duo is a pair from Asia and the other from Europe. There is an exchange of one student plus teachers, a pair from Asian country and a pair from European country exchange. And India is also part of this program. And basically, it is intended to promote balanced exchanges of students and professors between Asia and Europe. And when I say Europe, Germany, for today's context, Germany. And the expectation is that it will contribute to setting up regular basis exchange programs between Asian and European countries. And also, in the longer run, establish deeper understanding between the two regions. So this is another scheme wherein one could look for funding opportunities. Now I'll slightly change the gaze and talk about National Education Policy 2020 and internationalization of education. Today's discussion is centered around funding opportunities for students and funding opportunities to work in Germany and to work in India, and mobility wise and for research and collaboration. National education policy has connotations for that, especially the section on internationalization of education. National Education Policy 2020 is the policy which has been accepted by the government last year in 2020. This policy came up after 1983. The previous policy was in 1983, and this is the policy which has come almost after 40 years, I would say 37 years. And I have just highlighted 3-4 points which are important for today's discussion. The basic idea of national education policy is to promote India as a global study destination. That is to provide premium education at affordable cost. This is the most important aspect, wherein India will be, education will be provided at affordable cost, and this is education is a premium education. And one of the proposals which is envisaged under this policy is to establish international students office at each higher education institution hosting foreign students. Many a times it was found that when foreign students come, when the foreign faculty come, want to visit India, they don't know where to write, whom to write, how to correspond. Now, under this particular policy, one of the ideas which has been proposed, which has been envisaged, is to create international student office. So that will be a one-point office and contact for all international collaboration for students and faculty. Another important aspect under this NEP 2020 is establishment of a National Research Foundation, which is to fund outstanding peer-reviewed research and to actively seed research in universities and colleges. National Research Fund, in the recent budget also, it has been proposed a budget of 50,000 crores for the next 5 years, which will be funding research in universities and colleges. This is one of the, I would say, revolutionary changes which has been made in the recent times as regards the research funding in for universities and university research in India. And another aspect is there will be teaching and research collaborations as well as faculty and student exchanges. This both go hand in hand, research and teaching collaborations and faculty and student exchanges between foreign institutions and in India. This has been envisaged under this particular policy. And it also provides for greater mobility of students in India who wish to visit, study at transfer credits to or carry out research at institutions abroad and vice versa. What this means is there will be an academic bank of credits. That means for the first time, you can actually have credits in one university and some credits from second university from abroad or within India. And you can have a virtual bank, which is called academic bank of credits, wherein you can store your credits and those credits will be considered for awarding a degree. This will help in doing your internship in a different university or a different institute, and that will also help in mobility of students from India to foreign countries and maybe from foreign countries to India. And the other important aspect which I wanted to highlight under the NEP Internationalization Program is, till now, if some foreign university want to establish a campus, that was not possible, but now there is a legislative framework has to facilitate facilitation of a legislative framework has been envisaged under this particular policy NEP 2020, wherein the top 100 universities in the world will be facilitated to operate in India to establish their campuses, and they will be given special dispensation regarding regulatory governance and content norms on par with other autonomous institutes of India. And research collaboration and student exchanges. I'm again stressing the point that research collaboration and student exchanges between Indian institutions and global institutions will be promoted through special efforts. This again goes on to tell that there is a lot which is being done and which is going to come in the coming years and months and years to truly internationalize the education and to promote student exchanges and research collaborations. And again, the point which I mentioned a while ago is the credit acquired in foreign universities will be permitted where appropriate as per the requirement of a higher education institution to be counted for the award of a degree. That means if you do an internship in a university abroad, those credits can be counted for awarding a degree. And this will be determined by the higher education institute, which is the university concerned. And I think with these brief remarks, I will stop here and I will be very happy to take questions. And thank you very much once again for your attention.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Reddy. I think we've had a wonderful mix of introductions of both the German and the Indian systems and of the variety of funding that is available at both of them. And now is actually the time when we have to get into the question and answer mode. So the first thing I'd like to do is to encourage all of our participants to now start typing their questions. In the meantime, I would maybe like to begin with a couple of questions. So let me just quickly once make this little change in my view. Okay, now I see all our faces on camera. That's nice this way. Right. As I said, now here we have one, I think Dr. Reddy as the scientist and Gabriela, you as the science administrator. So I'll ask one question each. In the meantime, I assume maybe some of our participants will have more questions for us. But as a scientist, Dr. Reddy, my question to you is, you've seen both the Indian research scenario, the Indian approach to research, and the German. Do you feel that there are any significant differences, and how would you elaborate on that?
No, what I would like to say is in the approach, I mean, the scientists all over the world think alike. I mean, they are altruistic. They actually want to share their results, learn from each other, and I mean, work for the betterment of society. It all depends upon the kind of opportunities, the kind of problems you are looking at it, the kind of priorities which are set in your laboratory and in your universities. One difference which I found here is I mean, whatever the funding opportunities you call it, or the number of people who are into research, you'll get a little more, I mean, resources in Germany to do your research as compared to in some of the, I mean, universities or, I mean, institutions in India. But having said that, once you look at the number of people who are into research in India versus in Germany, and in terms of GDP we are spending on research, India is doing considerably well, and I mean, I'm confident that in the coming years there will be much more funding which will be provided to Indian scientists and Indian research sector, and that will improve the situation in a much better fashion.
Thank you so much for that answer. It's very true what you say. Now, Gabi, over to you. Question. We've discussed about the different funding possibilities and everything, but the most difficult bit, I think, is actually identifying and getting a placement at a university or a research center to do your PhD. That is actually one question that we mostly have, which is related to funding, but it's the very first step. So that's where many people feel challenged. So how would you answer that question?
Indeed, Apoorv, this is really a crucial question, and the first question that, or when planning your research stay abroad, has to be solved. And as I said, you have to know what you actually want to do, and then search for the institution that might offer or match your research field, and then get into contact with the professors. This is sometimes difficult, and we get a lot of tips also through our works from the German side, from the professors, people who are already people who already came to Germany, international researchers. Sometimes it's good to look on the websites who is in the research group of the professor, and maybe talk to the postdocs there. The first thing you would do, you would contact the professor and write an email. And the professors, as we all know, they have a lot of occupations, little time, and you might wait 2 or 3 weeks before an answer comes, and you get nervous. A good tip we got is look into who is in the research group, contact them, get in touch with them. But also networking is very important, which I addressed shortly. Talk to your professors in India. They might already have a network, someone in Germany. You can start from there. Maybe they can contact you, or yourself. I would like to motivate you to go to conferences, to get in touch with people. There's nothing better than knowing people personally and being able to write an email. It was a pleasure meeting you at this conference. I've looked into your program. And the most important thing when you contact professors, have a good look into his research, what he's actually doing. So, and refer to it. So this is the tips I have when once you have found the matching institution, how to get in touch. So this is one of the tips that we get from professors. Thank you.
Next question is what is very typically, very often asked, is related to, we mentioned the structured PhD programs, and we also have the traditional way of doing a PhD. So many people tend to ask, is one more valuable than the other? Is one better than the other? So how are they different, and which one should I choose?
Maybe I start from our point of view. There is no difference. You get the same degree. There is no difference in the PhD degree you get. So it's the same. Only the way to the degree is different. And one way is more suitable for one person, and the other way more suitable for the other person who probably doesn't have already set their defined research idea. So if you want to follow an academic, pursue an academic career in Germany, there's no difference. You can go to your postdoc with any of these approaches. There wouldn't be made a difference.
Yes, Dr. Reddy.
I just wanted to add to something which Ms. Gabby has said in the previous question, which is it is very important to identify the professor and writing to the professor. And she has said that the professors are very busy as usual everywhere. But what I have found, a significant number of Indian students or Indian, aspiring students or prospective students, they say, I have written the email, but I didn't get a reply for 1 month, 2 months. Sometimes it is also important that they talk to seniors, as Ms. Gabby has said. Also, write the email not in a very casual way, but it has to be very measured, very, it should tell you what you intend to do in the PhD or intend to do in his or her lab, in the professor's lab. And that the cover letter has to capture the attention of the professor, because the professors get maybe tens of such letters every day, and it has to capture the professor's attention. So there is a need to how to write a letter and how to apply to a professor, to a PhD ship or a postdoctoral thing. And this is what today also I was discussing with some funding agency, and they have said that many people have the same complaint. They write, but they are not getting a reply. Their success rate is less. So that is where, even though the student may be very smart, but writing and contacting the professor and as informally with postdocs or other laboratory, that will help in going to a correct laboratory. That is the first step, which is the most important step.
That's very useful information. Thank you so much for this. Next question is again related to a choice that one has, because literally looking at the German higher education area, there is so much on offer that students get confused. The next big confusion is always, if I want to do my PhD, can I do my PhD at a research laboratory? And is a research laboratory a better place to do my PhD, or is a university a better place to do my PhD? So if maybe any one of you could start with this, the other could build upon that. Dr. Reddy would like to start.
I'll just give you a little bit of experience which I had, because I have not seen the university system too much, but I have just interacted and visited. But see, the university or the research institutes have to be associated with the universities for giving degree. But having said that, it all depends upon the kind of work you are interested in the kind of work the PI is doing, the principal investigator, principal investigator being the professor with whom you are doing your PhD. That matters. Rather than whether it is in industry or academia. Some people may be interested in doing industrial PhD, very few, less number of people, but it all depends upon the kind of work you are interested in. That is where it should take you, not a research or university or a research institute.
Thank you for that. Gabi, did you want to add something?
I would agree to that, and this is true. I have, if you allow me, I have another link to share. Actually, we have an online talk series running twice a year, where we invite professors and representatives of German institutions to give these advices and tell international researchers how they best should proceed. And you can hear directly from them what's important, and I might add one other thing, that really it's important to find the group or the research group that matches with your research. If you have a certain research idea, you can't carry it out everywhere. Some people want to go to Berlin or Munich. Sometimes this happens, and then they don't find the matching group or research. I think in first place is the thing you want to do. The research topic is the most important thing, and the quality and the of the labs, and they all apply for funding. They all have the well-equipped laboratories and can offer you a proper place to carry out your research. So there is no difference, and I would take it from there. If you find the matching, and you will, I think what we hear, if you have the feeling you've found people that understand you and actually that what you want to do, then you're happy and you know this is your place. I believe this is, I'm not a scientist myself. I can just tell you what I hear from other researchers in our online talk, and I think this is the best way to take it.
Pick up one more question, which is kind of related to what Dr. Reddy had mentioned a while back, and that was industrial research. Now, that is not the most common route that people take, but yes, there is, and that's what also was visible on one of your slides, Gabi, initially, the three pillars, you know. So what about industrial research? That's an area which is a little gray for many people. Can you elaborate on that, please, a little bit?
You're asking me, sorry.
Yes, Gabi, I was asking.
Sorry, the question went to me. Yes, I'm happy to do so. So as I said, there are a lot of companies, or investment in research and development comes mostly from industry. So there is a lot of research done, and also the companies offer PhD positions and postdoc positions. If we speak of a PhD, they are connected with the university. You will have 2 supervisors and get your degree from the university. Most of the times you will find, if you're related to any of the sectors, and this is a choice for you, and you want to pursue or to stay in industry and stay in within also applied sciences, then if applied sciences is one thing that you want to do, most of the positions are paid, so you don't have to think about the funding. You have work contracts. You are integrated into the employee structure, and you work for the company and can develop your career there. It's also possible to do your PhD with a company and go back to university. This is still important. I think this is a crucial question that people always ask. Can I go back to university if I do my PhD with a company, and so on? There are also companies that sponsor professorships at universities. So big German players, they have their sponsor professorships at university. So there is a strong connection, and yes, it is possible to decide later on where you want to stay, in academia or stay in industry. I think maybe this is a point that I didn't mention.
Thank you so much, Gabi. You raised your hand, Dr. Reddy. Yes.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add to what Ms. Gabi has said. It's very important. India also has realized that there's the industrial exposure, industrial training is very important. And I'm happy to share that the Indo-German SNT Center, Science and Technology Center, Bilateral Center, has now come up with the industrial training fellowships for PhD students and postdocs. For PhD students for 6 months, and for postdocs 1 year of industrial fellowships will be provided under this Bilateral Center, Indo-German SNT Center. And I would request the participants also to apply. Mostly it is on the similar lines as you have said, to give industrial exposure for the PhD students, as well as for postdoc who want to maybe shift to industrial industry as a career. And if you see here, I mean, when compared to India and other countries, the private sector participation in R&D is less when compared to private participation in R&D in foreign countries. So in foreign countries, roughly, if you say there are 70% of the R&D budget comes from private industries, private sector industries mostly, whereas that is less than 30% or less than 20% in India. And one of the things under science, technology, and innovation policy in India, which has been with the DSTA has spearheaded the policy, STIP policy, called Science, Technology, Innovation Policy. One of the important points which has been made up is to double the GDP, GDP expenditure on R&D in the next 5 years, from the present level to 5 years. That is one. And to double the number of full-time equivalent researchers, like to double the number of researchers in the next 5 years, to double the R&D funding in the terms of GDP terms in the next 5 years. This is an important policy statement which has been accepted. To do that, private participation and industry participation in funding is very important, and this is what we are looking at.
Thank you. I think we're running short of time, so just one quick question to each of you before we wind up. Just a short answer will do. Dr. Reddy, since you have research experience in Germany, someone who's interested, let's say, in a postdoctoral research stay in Germany and approaches you, what would you tell him? What should be the initial few steps that person should take?
So the first thing, thanks for asking the question. The first thing I will do is I will align my research interests and I will see where my research interests are. Irrespective of my PhD, but I want to shift my field to a postdoctoral training in a different field. First, choose a professor, study look at the work which is being conducted in the particular PI's group, and then you start applying to those laboratories in which you want to do your postdoctoral training. Identifying the topic and the research area is very critical, and that is the first step. Then you write to the professor, then you seek, if there are no funds for the professor under the project, then you look for various funding agencies to get your funding. So these are the 2-3 steps I would now suggest.
Great. Wonderful. That leads me directly to the question I had for Gabi, which was regarding funding. Many a times people ask, what's the best way? Do I first get the funding, or do I first have to get my position? Can I have multiple funding from multiple agencies? So if you could just sum up these 3 questions, that would be wonderful.
Thank you for this question. I'm agreeing fully with Madhu in the procedure. As I said, it's always important first to have the position and then to apply for funding, because they will first ask you, where are you going with this funding, and where are you carrying out your funding? So it is connected. So you can't, if you find paid positions, you're lucky. We talked about that. There are paid positions, you can find them, but if there are no funds, this is the way. Find first the position and then apply for funding. And my advice is definitely, if there are several funding that match with your interest, apply for several fundings, because all the schemes are very competitive, and in the end you will have the position but not the funding. Maybe important to know, if you go for your first year and you manage to finance yourself, you can also go and apply for second and third year, for example, of your PhD or postdoc. You can later on, once in Germany, if you say, okay, 1 year I managed to finance myself with my funds, and you can later on apply. So yes, please apply for several funding schemes if they are available. This is my advice.
But you're only permitted to actually get one. You cannot have funding from multiple. That's
true. You are not allowed to accept all of them if they are, because they are all funded, most of them funded by the German taxpayer. So this would be double funding. It is allowed if you have a funding from India. This is possible, but you can combine them. Your German funding will decrease, so they will calculate that. This is sometimes possible, but 2 German fundings, thank you for adding that, Apurv. It's not acceptable, not possible, unfortunately.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much to both of you. Thanks for joining. I know that these are busy times for all of us, and you took your time out. It was really interesting. It's always
My pleasure. Thank you.
a joy to be talking with you. So thank you so much. And thank you also to the audience for joining us for this session. And the Falling Walls winner results, I think, will be announced or are being announced right now. If some of you would like to join back into the Innovators Connect, now would be a good time to do that. So wishing everyone a wonderful day and a wonderful evening ahead. Thank you and bye-bye for now.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks.
All the best.
All the best. Thank you.